So if you want, we can dive right into the charter revision. I'm going to change things up a little bit here. I'm going to suggest that initially we don't make any motions at first, just possibly have a discussion by the Board of Selectmen, and then seek comments and questions back and forth from the CRC folks and our board. And then I think we can make some motions after that. And there's lots of ways we can do the motions. We can do the motions page by page, or we can do motions accepting or rejecting a portion of the revised charter, or we can accept or reject certain parts with respect to folks added or deleted from the most recent version. So there's lots of motions, options we have. So, it's okay. I would like to start it off. I've read it about 10 times now. And every time I do, I find something else, which is either good or bad, I'm not sure. But after review of this most recent version of the charter that we received, I believe that the Board of Selectmen must continue to be in a position of being responsible and have the authority to still set policy, approve contracts, and be involved in all financial matters. And I think it's a requirement of sound governance. This most recent version that I know the CRC has worked very hard on of the charter, as we have it rewritten here tonight, essentially now has not only removed the major responsibilities of the first selectman, as per our board's request for you to do, but now we have a document that has literally removed the majority of the responsibilities and authority of the entire Board of Selectmen. And after review of the document, further I find that the powers and duties and authority of the first selectman, which we expected you to remove, and you did, the way you've stricken them from the document, you actually have not put the majority of them in the hands of the town manager in detail. I mean, if you're going to take them away from the first selectman, you really have to delineate the ones that you took away in the overall responsibilities of what you placed as responsibilities and authority of the town manager. And I don't see them there. I'm sure that was your intent, however, they're just not there. Further, we now have a revised document that also removes the Board of Finance entirely. While I understand that this is an approach that a number of towns, and it's well documented by other folks in other towns, and it's not against state regulations to remove the Board of Finance. In this particular case, I have a major concern as the charter is now rewritten and restructured, because when you take away the authority of the Board of Selectmen and you remove the Board of Finance entirely, you don't have sufficient accountability, authority, responsibility to maintain the safeguards required for good sound governance. And since you only have in effect now, at this point, the way I read it, the town manager or director of finance, and what amounts to, a part-time treasurer that doesn't do things all that often. You just don't have the authority and the safeguards in place. You could have developed, some sort of a hybrid that was still sound. But as it is right now, I feel that, checks and balances are just not there. So that's just one observation that I have right now. I'll comment later on town planner. Do you, my board, want to start off, or do you want to solicit comments from members of the CRC that are here this evening? How would you like to work it?
I mean, I think I said my piece at the last meeting, and I do believe that I'll agree with you, Bruce. I mean, obviously the comment was we wanted to make sure that the first selectman wasn't still sitting in a position of doing the duties that currently exist if we were going to have a town manager, so it wasn't a duplicative almost situation. But what I said that night was that I don't believe that the town manager is the solution to the current problems in the town of Clinton. I also believe that it's still, if we're going to change how we run the town, I think the major issues are what I hear people complain about, are town meetings and referendum, and it still does not, we still have a hybrid, let's see where we go kind of situation here, where we're still going to hang on to town meetings and allow a small portion of town to make huge decisions. I mean, I think the issue here is that people want the town manager to make the financial decisions. At least that's what I'm getting. And the way this is set up is you're still a town meeting form of government, right? You're still, the town manager and the board of selectmen are sending things to town meeting, and then the budget obviously still goes to referendum without a board of finance. So for me, it's still the same document, except you've taken out some of the responsibilities of the first selectman. And as I said that night, and I think people have heard me say in other forums, the bigger problem in town is not to have another person sitting here overseeing the finances, it's really the economic development. So I think what I had said that night was maybe the town planner is actually more important than the town manager. And I just from what I hear from people, it's the form of government and the people who are making the decisions as citizens, which personally I don't really want my vote stripped away from being able to vote on the budget. I still would appreciate a referendum. I want to be able to vote on the budget. But if you're going to change the form of government, change it. So that's just still my concern. Has John Bennett reviewed this? The changes?
I don't think he has reviewed this last version.
And I just have a quick question. Did you guys add the land swap to the
It was on the original.
town meeting, or it was on the original? Okay, because I think sale purchase, if you just change that to any transaction, you probably, land swap is probably not a very well-defined term.
That was on the original.
Yeah, I just didn't see it.
When
So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
when you say you don't see this as solving the problems of the town, what do you see as the problems of the town in a nutshell?
I think the planning of I think land use, planning, zoning, economic development, how friendly our business.
Well, how do you
things
see
like that, and I
retaining what we have now as answering that need?
I don't, but I don't think adding a town manager solves it at all, because the town manager is not the person who goes out. I said this at our last meeting. The town
Right.
manager isn't the person that goes out and solicits or.
Well, neither is the Board of Selectmen or the Board of Finance.
Well, no, arguably the first selectman can get involved, but.
Arguably a town manager could as well.
But I think it's more of a planning and zoning issue, and so therefore what I'm saying is that maybe, in my mind, the town planner, if we're gonna strap the town to a salary item, my vote is to give it, to do a town
But
planner.
we do have a town planner
No,
at
we
this
don't.
point. We do.
No, we don't.
We
have,
do.
no, we don't.
We
We
don't.
don't. We have a
$12 a year.
consultant who we pay $4,000 a month, whether he
Right.
does his job or he doesn't. That's not an employee of the town that we have any control over. And again, a town manager, so the argument is, we hire professionals, nobody listens to them. We had a town planner, nobody listened to. We have a consultant, nobody listens to. Who's
That's
going to say
a blanket statement.
okay, maybe not nobody, but
In most cases.
most cases,
Have you gone to these meetings? You'll see what
I know
John,
what he has done that affects what I do.
I know, but I'm saying, John, he writes a letter, say to a certain thing, and they go there and they'll follow him on some things, but some things they just blatantly.
Well, that's not gonna change. That's not gonna change
Well,
by,
that's-
Well,
by
then
Then
don't-
I hire a
where
professional.
Don't hire a
we
town
are
planner
right
then.
now.
Okay, I'd like to make a comment. First you, John.
No.
Okay.
Listen.
I've really gone over this town planner issue a great deal, and I've talked to others on other boards and commissions here. And I want you to all know something that I think is a pretty big deal. The chairman of planning and zoning recently indicated to me that our consulting planner does not currently have a full plate of assignments from planning and zoning. So why would we require the hiring of a full-time paid planner with benefits at this junction, which is not cost-effective? As a point of clarification, it should be noted with regard to the town planner that the Board of Selectmen and the Department of Public Works does use the planner effectively, and he does a good job. Also, the current charter language does not require hiring one, just like the provision for a town engineer. But we currently have a consulting engineer. Our consulting planner is cost effective, we don't have to pay benefits, and in theory, can service boards, commissions, and departments, and currently does so. Should the need arise at a later date, the Board of Selectmen would certainly consider a town planner serving planning and zoning, Board of Selectmen, DPW, EDC, and other boards and commissions. And at that time of proven need, the Board of Selectmen would address not only those needs, but look at the entire management pecking order of the land use operations in their total. In fact, the entire structure, in my opinion, should be reworked with regard to town planner, whether we use a full-time consultant or not. We should redo planning and zoning, the entire land use operation, everything down there. And I would rather at that time call for, as Stonington does, a director of planning who's responsible for everything, including the town planner, land use, planning and zoning, the whole ball of wax. And I think if we're going to do that, we really need to do it right, rethink everything and how that organization, the whole process of land use works going forward to make it a success. As it stands right now, we've got 8 to 10 years of experience down there, especially on the planning and zoning side, where they've come up with a terrific, guideline for conservation and economic development, but they don't decide on anything. We just don't move things forward down there. So I think the whole thing has to be reorganized. Not just get a town planner that's different maybe, but get a director of planning, reorganize the whole thing. That's just my opinion.
I think there's a lot to be said for that. I don't see continuing the way we've been going since, I don't know when, as the answer to anything. I see, to me, the idea of town manager, I've said this from the beginning, is to eliminate the personal influences in how the town is run. I mean, when you have the Board of Finance arguing over $7,000 proposal because this guy doesn't think that his marina uses it as much as that marina, we can't operate that way. We can't operate by personal agendas and re-election campaigns and 2-year terms of governance. It's just, things don't work that way. I mean, right now it's June, the election is in November, there's a lot of discussion about what's going to happen, who's going to run, who's going to, and everybody's trying to be acceptable to the public. And I would just love to eliminate that. I just think the idea of someone who isn't worrying about keeping their job by making people happy every 2 years is a move in a straightforward direction. This person is still at, the town manager is still at the will of the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen has hiring and firing. If you don't like what the guy is doing, you can step in and adjust the thinking. I don't see that what we're doing today is working. I don't see it working at all. And the problems that we have today, the empty storefronts, if I hear that phrase one more time, the empty storefronts still exist today that were there 30 years ago. How have we moved forward? How have we adapted to the era in which we live? We're not. We have planning and zoning problems, we have communication problems, we have personal interest problems. It's time to have intelligent oversight. The town manager will have background training, education, experience that we don't have here. I mean, not for nothing, when I was elected 8 years ago, I attended probably 6 meetings before I sat at this board. And I know the topics that they were discussing, the previous selectmen were discussing, that disappeared when Ray April and I sat down. There were projects that the previous selectmen were on top of and interested in, and it just all went away the day we came in because we didn't know anything about it. You need to have history, you need to have continuity, you need to have intelligence, you need to have, you understand, Bruce, there's nothing personal about what I'm saying.
No.
I'm just looking for an educated, energetic individual to take over running this town in a 21st century appropriate manner.
I'm just going to respond to that quickly, if you don't mind.
No?
I don't know if that's written like that.
Huh?
I don't know if
This
that's-
does not say
Yeah, that's what
that
it
the
says.
person you are hiring, we are guaranteeing that that person is going to be the savior for the town of Clinton. And I would argue that there have been many professionals that we have hired and thought that we did a good job hiring them, who actually are personally influenced very greatly. So I don't know that you get rid of the personal influence, Carol. I think, and you don't know how long that person's going to be here. And look how long Jay was here. Look how long the last 3 finance directors were here. You don't know you're going to have the continuity any more than you have every 2 years. We tried changing the charter way back when to have it be a 4-year term for the first selectman so that we would have some continuity on the board. We tried to change planning and zoning to be an appointed board rather than an elected board, which we all felt at that time might make some more sense because the board of selectmen might have more oversight. Those are things that might change things.
And
But
where
I
are
don't think that.
They're exactly
Well, because
where
those
they've
things
been.
never went, those things didn't happen. Not that that would have been the end all be. I think you're putting way too much faith in hiring a professional person who is just a person to come in here
I
and
don't think
understand.
they're
It might
just
be,
a person.
Oh,
I think
but
it is just a person.
Okay.
it's a professional with education. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to understand the ins and outs of Clinton coming in. It might take them 2 years, 3 years, and they might say, hey, I'm out. You might not get that continuity. I just think you're putting way too much faith in that, and I don't think that having an additional person with financial oversight, and I'm gonna take a little offense at the fact that you think that, personally, I'm not trying to make anybody happy. I've done things here that haven't made people happy. I don't look to making sure that I get elected in 2 years and for
We've all-
$3,000, whatever, but I just don't think that those things that you're talking about, personal influence, the continuity, that kind of thing, you don't know what you're going to get when you hire someone. You know how people interview. You just don't know. And I don't think that a town manager is the answer to the economic development issues that we have in town. I think that's the issue.
The other
And
thing-
what is?
If you can explain to
What
me how a
is?
town manager,
Okay, but
Who
you explain to
handles the
me how
finances
what
of
we're
town?
doing today is answering those needs.
I've told you what I think the problems are, and I'm not necessarily sure that a change in charter is going to change that. I think that you have to have the
So we
appropriate
just
people
stay
sitting
where we
on
are
boards.
and do what we've been
I'm not
doing.
saying that. I said at the beginning of the meeting that if we were to do anything, one more thing, a consultant planner versus an employee of the town planner is top-down versus we're telling you what to do. So there's a huge difference between that, and it actually makes me very upset to hear that he doesn't have a full plate and still charges us $4,000 a month. That's concerning. But a town planner, every land use, section here, you, EDC, everyone would have access to that person. I don't know that all those other departments know that they actually have access to John. They probably don't. So maybe we're not fully using him. But when you have an employee, can't think of tonight. That's top down versus planning and zoning saying, we're gonna pick and choose what we want the consultant to tell us, and, or what we want him to work on, and then we're gonna pick and choose whether or not we wanna listen to him.
Well, I'm also considering the fact that there is a great deal of support for the idea of town manager. You talk to 9 out of 10 people and they would like to see a town manager. And there was a lot of disturbance after the previous time we discussed this, that 5 people would decide the future of the town. People didn't like that. They want this to come to.
But now you're saying you're gonna vote to make people happy.
Well, but it won't go to, this will not go to vote unless we let it go to a vote.
Okay, but I think our key charge tonight is to say whether or not this document, as it stands, rewritten, does the job. I mean, you've taken the power, there's no Board of Finance. You've taken all the power away from not just the first selectman, but also the entire Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen has to be in a position of creating policy, make contract decisions, and being involved strongly in the financial process. This document that we are looking at tonight, and we are charged with looking at tonight and deciding whether or not it works, in my opinion, does not work.
I don't interpret it that way. I don't interpret it as, I mean, maybe I'm reading it incorrectly,
You have
but
to look at the parts.
I did.
There is now no longer a Board of
I
Finance.
understand that, but I
The
also,
powers of the Board of Selectmen are gone. Completely gone. Did you read it?
Yes.
There's a whole section
Yes.
where Art blue lined everything out.
all
It's all
the,
gone. We don't have enough checks and balances in place for good governance.
In his defense, I
I'm
think
not
that's what you're probably
interpreting it that
asking.
Well, you
Yeah.
better interpret it that way because that is the way it works. This is important stuff that we're doing.
What,
You have to read the words.
Art, you want to say
Yeah, I'd
anything?
like to hear from the CRC. They haven't had a chance to talk yet. Please, jump in. Either one of you, good start.
Well, I would prefer that you ask questions if you want specific answers.
Why did you eliminate all responsibilities of the Board of Selectmen?
Because that's what was asked of us.
No, you were asked to remove the responsibilities of the first selectman, because as it stood prior to this, he still had like 3/4, or she still had 3/4 of a job left there. And we said, if you're gonna go to the town manager concept, you've got to take all those administrative and financial responsibilities from the first select person. We didn't tell you to take everything away from the Board of Selectmen, nor did we tell you to remove the Board of Finance.
That's not just a-
Well, let's take a step back then.
Okay.
I can say that on behalf of the Charter Revision Commission, we did our best effort to come up with
I don't doubt
a
you did.
revision to the document that was originally presented probably over a month ago.
Right.
Given the time constraints, we're trying to make sure this got onto the ballot and got back to the Board of Selectmen by your June 23rd deadline, which we actually did.
Right.
We met 2 extra times to make that happen. We did not have the benefit of Attorney Bennett to review our final version, we simply had to address the concerns that were, quite frankly, not given to us in writing. So if there's specific things that you would have preferred, they probably should have been in writing. And we would have addressed them and said we can either do this or not do that. For instance, the town planner matter, which is occupying a lot of our discussion tonight, but quite frankly, that's a very small component of the overall charter revision.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm sure.
it's a small element. So, and even though the Board of Selectmen recommended that it be not included, the Charter Revision Commission opted to include it. With the knowledge that when it comes back to the Board of Selectmen, you have the full authority to revise this document to whatever suits your concerns. So the discussion tonight, quite frankly, I agree with, and the public has informed us of that throughout our 6 hearings. It's all good discussion, but you're defining the problems all over again. We came up with a solution to some of those problems, and then we refined it to what we believed was what you wanted based upon your verbal comments, when we submitted our charter revision. Then when you sent it back to us, we had limited ability because we're not attorneys and we're
I
not.
had one, but you lost them.
Yeah.
Well, he shouldn't be
Yeah.
representing himself since
In
anyway.
any event, I can say that on behalf of the Charter Revision Commission, we felt as though we did what was asked of us to further empower the position of the town manager so that he or she would have the ability to, and the authority, to get those things done that we've all talked about tonight. There's concerns about development, there's concerns about planning and zoning and who's in charge. With all those departments reporting to the town manager, the objective was to empower that person to get things done. And that's what's been done in other communities throughout the state of Connecticut. And albeit in larger communities, typically, it's what was asked of us on the Charter Revision Commission, and we delivered what was asked of us. And then we further refined it to what we believed was going to address you as the Board of Selectmen's concerns. And, quite frankly, the discussion tonight is troubling to me because it almost sounds like we went too far, which is fine too, because it's still your document. We are done. Charter Revision is completed our mission. It's been delivered to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
The things that you're discussing now, when they're reflected in the minutes, should be translated into your revision to the Charter Revision before you present it at the election, or if you choose to. I guess and the last comment I would make is, that the idea of, whether you go with a town manager or not, I don't think is really the issue. The issue is what we've done in Clinton doing the job? It sounds like everybody unanimously says it's not doing the job. So to simply say that we're going to take this charter and not consider it for the ballot, I don't think that's a fair thing to do to the voters. I think that what we have to do is, refine it to however you feel it's going to make you feel comfortable moving forward, fine tune it. Quite frankly, a lot of the things that we're discussing are finite details of the document, which is fine. But certainly Attorney Bennett or whoever else is going to review it should chime in, make sure it's consistent with all the state statutes and local regulations that may impact how it's worded. But ultimately, it's your baby now, so
Right.
Art, if you have any things to add, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, it was the charter, it didn't take us long to put back in the town planner and the town manager. That was a pretty quick conversation from all the town, like you said, all the town meetings we had, and we addressed what you wanted as far as bring the power over to the town manager. And I actually spoke briefly with Mr. Fritz about, and he suggested going to look at the North Branford Town Charter, because a lot of what you're seeing in there is representative of the town of North Branford, their verbiage. I did not write, there's not very many original words in that. So what you're looking at is a reading document elsewhere. And they do have a director of finance. They do go to a referendum such as so does Killingly. If it's over 2% or something like that. We did address town meetings with other things that we've already approved. If it's over 250,000, it has to go, to referendum. It can't just be done at a town meeting. So we did try to narrow that part of it. To Lynn's point about the town planner. It was actually Gary Busquet who wanted the professional town planner because there's regs that aren't being written professionally. He wanted a professional to write those regulations. So there's a lot of the town planner stuff because it's not being utilized. We're not planning right for it. The town manager is going to provide the cohesiveness of the town going forward. So when we talk about the town manager, it didn't take us long. So this is twice that we voted on putting it in there. So when you talk about the powers, removing the powers of the first selectman, we did talk about the contracts, and I do believe the contracts and the oversight is still in there. And James was just saying, it's your document now. It's not hard to go through and pull things out and put things back in that are blue line. It's just a line. It's just don't accept this change. It is your document. You can make changes back to it. And put things back in. And as far as the financial oversight, you still are looking at, you can look at it still being presented by the Board of Selectmen to the town. The reason that the Board of Finance was removed, if that, you have to check the statutes on that, because I had a question, and I think it was reflected in our minutes, but the Board of Finance, some thought in our area that if you kept the Board of Finance, you're cutting out the feet of the town manager potentially because they can say, oh, we're putting this stuff back in, so that's why. Doesn't mean it has to go. So there are things that you can change in this and put it back in there. My concern, I think, Mr. Downey said it quite nicely. He never said if he was for a town manager or against a town manager. He simply said it shouldn't be decided at the table. And I agree with that because we're talking about a form of government change for the people of the town of Clinton. And there's at least 2 of you out there that are potentially running for first selectman. So this could possibly affect something that's going to happen 3 years down the road. It could possibly affect your position. So in a town where we're talking about conflicts and ethics and all that stuff, I think your position should be let it go to the town. The people will let the people decide how this should be voted and whether they want to change the government. And it shouldn't be decided. There should be let the people decide. If they want it, they're going to change it. If they're not, they're not. You can go out and campaign against it all you want. You can write letters to the editor. And there's going to be a million of them, I know it. But it should go to the people of the town to decide how they want to be governed, whether they can afford a town manager and afford a town planner. And nothing's being done. If redo the planning and zoning office, all we hear is bad things about it. Why isn't it being changed? Why isn't it done? Nothing's going to get done from what I can see. Beautiful that you say all that, but is anything going to change? From what I understand, nothing's going to get changed. So. And as far as the professionalism, we can fire this guy. At least he's going to lose certification, he's going to lose jobs and stuff. If you have a first selectman that does something wrong, if he's popular, he can get re-elected again, just because he's popular. Or she, sorry. But I'm just saying, that person can get re-elected and have done terrible things. So that's, I think that's everything that I can say.
So Art, basically, what you're saying at this point is, this is it, this is done. And
we're done. I think the charter commission, as soon as we handed it in, we are.
As the Board of Selectmen, should go through this line by line, page by page, and see if we...
There are other changes in there that we made other than, I think that change, everything in blue you have already seen, you've already voted on, except you maybe didn't see the catch the land swap one, and I think that was put in there because of a specific land swap that happened.
Yeah, I know, I see
But I think everything that was blue, if I did it right, everything that was blue was already voted on and good. Everything that's red is changed, so I would check the red, because there was other things that we changed besides the town manager and the hiring and all that stuff. And like I said, a lot of the red was taken right out of North Branford charter. So when we say that things weren't specifically said, like we took them away from the first selectman and not specifically itemized down below, I think sometimes when you itemize things, and job things, people say, well, that's my job. So everything that's not listed out, I don't have to do. So I think that's why there's some vagueness in some charters along with Finley as well. But again, I'm not a charter writer, or I didn't write much in this.
Mary, what's our timeline?
Next, by the 5th. Next
We
week.
have to have a document prepared by the 5th.
Correct.
Next. And John Bennett has not reviewed this.
He hasn't reviewed this new final document.
So I think that's,
I think you should, since the time frame is so tight, you need to go through and make whatever changes you want to make, I would
and we
recommend.
don't have a meeting. next
Have a
week.
completed document and then vote on that next week.
Well, we don't have a meeting, do we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Wednesday
Is it
morning.
15 days, I think?
Wednesday morning.
I think they just have to have a meeting. I'm not sure about that.
I think that a lot of your feedback is excellent tonight, and I think that if you take your minutes and take the document and get it to Bennett as soon as possible, because he really needs to do a comparison to the statutes to make sure that there's no conflicts. The only reason I say that is because he did it for us when we asked him to.
It was pretty quick.
And he did it very quickly, and he's very good at this, and he's done it many times in the past. So if you were to give him your minutes, it would reflect your, I guess, personal
That's just what I'm
comments.
saying. They need to go through each one and make their changes tonight as to what they want to keep or what language we want to take out.
And I would have,
And then-
I'd have them look at the removing the Board of Finance section.
But
which
first
is
let
ours.
them vote on whether they want to
Because
take that out or not, and then
the
we
way I read it-
present that to him. Since we
The
don't
way I
have
read the
that time.
statutes, which like I said, I can't, but the way I read the statute,
What was that?
I think.
It's in our minutes.
Statutory
Yeah.
required.
but I think if you're changing to a town man, the way I read the statute, I brought it up in our meeting, but I think that should be at least checked.
That whether it's legal to remove the Board of Finance or not.
I just want that checked, that should be the first step, because that would erase a lot of the question.
Well,
It was in our minutes,
so
so,
there are hybrids that have,
yeah, but I don't know how we got there,
Depends on the form of government.
and I think it depends on how you switch.
yeah.
It was in section 7, it's in our minutes from one of them, because when we had the meeting. But I don't, I'm sure they'll find that out
There's
immediately.
still only two major questions.
So, yeah, right, there's only
So, the time is
So you
now.
want to go through some of these now?
So the blue we've already agreed on.
No, I don't agree with that.
No?
Why don't we start at the very beginning of the, which one are we looking at?
One with
Well,
the,
I have to look at the one with the blue ones items. because The final version that we got
This
doesn't work because there's pieces that have been removed in the final version that show that they've either been added or not. In the blue line version, there's
Right, so we
there's contradictions.
And I realized,
Go with the blue line version because you're gonna find in there there's some things that have been added and deleted.
Right, yep. All right, page 5 is the beginning. No changes.
All right, so we'd come back to the table of contents later because that's
Well, that's just,
not really.
that's just
So we're
administrative.
starting with section 1-1 appropriation, page 5.
Fine,
I
no changes.
don't have any changes.
6, no changes, 7, no changes.
It's easy to tell you.
Well, there's
There's
no
nothing.
changes. There's nothing on there. 8,
Okay.
no problem with that. No individual can hold 2 positions. Nothing. Positions concurrent. Anybody have a problem with that?
Good.
No, that was my suggestion.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So page 8 is good, page 9
Page
deals with
Oh, hold on.
Board of
Well,
Finance.
there's more, page
Board of
8.
Finance.
Light over here.
No, John wrote.
That's the alternates, we wanted them to put that
Okay.
in, the police commission.
No.
Wait a minute, page 8
Board of
still.
Selectmen.
Or under vacancies.
On A, it took out.
Yeah, the Board of Finance, reference to the Board of Finance. Is that agreeable or no? And thus begs the question of Board of Finance. It's right here.
Correct.
What do you think?
Where are you?
Page 8, section 3-2, vacancies, it mentions the Board of Finance. And either the Board of Finance is in or it is not in. No, you're using the wrong one. Page 8.
Use the one with the blue line.
I heard you. Well, we have to ask Bennett about the Board of Finance situation, so I don't think we can make a decision. That's just gotta be noted.
Well, that's gonna eliminate half the discussion then. Now,
No, it's not half the discussion.
Not half.
But it's just all a reference to the Board of Finance.
okay,
We have to leave anything.
yeah.
I mean, we need to know, can we get eliminated? If we can't, then we don't have to have a discussion at all.
Correct.
Now, C has an underline, a vacancy of the Board of Selectmen shall be filled in accordance with section 922. That's just a editorial line, that doesn't look like we changed anything.
You can
We
make,
can make a motion pending Bennett's approval.
on Board of Finance.
Relative to the Board of Finance.
Now,
Now.
at the beginning,
Can I make a suggestion? The big question here is whether or not the question of the town manager is yay or nay, right? Because if it's,
Stays the way it is.
If it stays the way it
You have
is.
the Board of Finance.
then we have the Board of Finance.
Correct.
So I think this is just my suggestion, that we have to decide if we want Bennett to go forward with reviewing the language that you have concerns about, removing powers of the Board of Selectmen and whatnot. If the vote is we want to go forward with the town manager, then the review is different than if we don't.
That's correct.
So my suggestion is that we make a motion as to whether or not we have, a majority wanting to go forward with it or not. And then that eliminates or adds to what Bennett needs to review. That's just my suggestion. You
I
guys
think it's a
can
good
take
one.
that for what it's worth.
John, what do you think?
I agree with what you're saying, but are we talking about, do we want a manager or don't we?
Well,
That's
that's what she's
what I'm
saying.
saying.
Or do you want to allow the people to decide whether they want a manager? That's the question.
I understand.
Okay, not that you want
Right?
it,
Like I said before, and that's what Archie said, I don't think we should be making that decision. Now, obviously, we have to make some decision to go forward. To be honest with you, I didn't read the whole, what you guys changed this time, but I think there's something to be said for having a professional. I understand what you're saying, Lynn, and I agree with what Carol has to say about, people when it comes to voting and stuff, they can't be influenced when it gets close to an election, or whatever it might be, and nothing against anybody that's ever run for first selectman or has been first selectman, but it could be, some pie maker. Doesn't matter, at least this guy's a professional. Just like Archie said, it could be a popularity contest, and I'm not taking away from anybody that's sat in the seat, but, why are we touching me? Check. So I just want everybody to know that, I think I'm not against it. I don't know what his name is.
you called him Archie.
It is Archie.
It's see, there's a line of, I know who knew me when. I grew up.
I call him Archie too.
So it's Archie. We went to school together,
But you
so.
just call him Art, I was gonna say, what?
His name is Art.
No.
Sorry.
He knows me, Archie, and after
Okay, I didn't, I'm sorry. You didn't have to mention it, but anyway.
Maybe we should wait
Subtle and
until
respectful.
we find out.
Well, we don't have
My
time.
suggestion is,
We don't have time.
my suggestion is if
Wait, so what is
Hold on,
July
can you
5th?
just
What is
let it-
July 5th,
That's
though?
your 15 days.
Correct.
Right. That's
And what happens after that?
If you don't do anything, what we presented to you goes to ballot.
Goes to what?
ballot.
Ballot.
Correct.
Goes to referendum.
Okay, all right.
So maybe what John should do is review the concerns. You should probably have a conversation with him about the concerns of removing the powers of the Board of Selectmen. And I would like him to review my concern about whether or not we should go full RTM, but that's not what these guys presented, so that's a whole other can of worms. But just based on what you guys are saying, maybe he should review, you guys did what you thought we were asking you to do. I think what we had said was that we thought that too many powers still existed with the first selectman, not the whole board. So maybe Bennett needs to review that and the Board of Finance situation, and then we should vote on.
We could have a meeting on Monday and do this hashing out after we have his feedback.
As long as he's gonna have to get it like first thing tomorrow, because there's no way he's
A
gonna.
little bit of holiday coming up here.
Right, but if do you think there's any chance he could just do a quick review
Would
and have it?
no idea if he has court schedule or
Well, it's just
what?
too bad that, you know,
Yeah.
and I would like a full board, you know.
So, right.
So would I. Yeah. Well, I think the Board of Finance piece of this is huge.
Well, we need to ask him if that can come out,
Well, that's,
and how, and when it can come out.
I think it impacts so much of what we're looking at that to try and go forward line by line, page by page without that information.
Well, maybe you should, I don't know, just like Lynn had originally said, make a motion either to accept or, you know, the key pieces, the town manager portion of it.
Well, she makes a motion.
If you want to go through with that, then that part is,
I think the problem with voting on that is Bruce's concern that he has about the powers that have been taken from the board.
Correct.
That's the only issue I see.
That is something I would like to address in the line by line discussion. Looking at that, I see things that I can happily live without, and there are parts that I would like to see put back in. That would be one of those line by line discussions. I mean, do we do that now? Do we do that?
We can do it now.
Well, I think we shouldn't skip anything in that case. Because it's a house of cards and one thing plays on the other. So we were on page 8 with reference to the Board of Finance.
Right.
And it is crossed out. So we're just going to leave that in referral to Attorney Bennett.
Any reference to Board of Finance?
So if he says we are allowed to remove it, then is the agreement that Board of Finance stays out of this paragraph?
If we
Or
have
does it
managed-
stay back in?
If we have what we have now, we probably continue with the Board of Finance.
What if he says it's okay to have a town manager and a Board of Finance? Would you want that back in or not? See what I'm saying? Honestly,
Let's go
Yeah.
through as much as we can.
Well, we're at it.
Okay?
9 is Board of Finance.
Bruce, I'm sorry to interrupt. May I be excused if,
Yes.
yeah.
Thank you guys for your
Thank you.
effort. We're gonna be.
My daughter's sitting over here in the place, so I might as well hang out for a while.
Oh, you're asking for it.
I might as well sit here and give my wife the benefit of not going down here.
Obviously, the Board of Finance that's the next thing, it's all crossed out. so-
Right. Again, any reference to Board of Finance will be held in vain. Okay. Next, page 10.
Well, wait, so,
There's nothing.
There's nothing else there.
Page 11 is the alternates on the police commission.
That's what we wanted.
That's good.
Yeah, that's
Great.
We don't agree on something.
yay.
You can't even read down the bottom. Tell me what it says.
The annual budget meeting shall be, instead of the word convened, it will be adjourned to referendum.
Whatever.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Page 12.
Land swap.
I missed the land swap thing, I just think it's already behind if you say any real estate transaction, but John can look at that. I think that's a specific dig to be honest.
Wait a minute, so are you saying leave it in or take it out?
I'm saying that it should be either defined properly or it can come under one of the other.
Okay, so more definition.
Or it'd be under 1 through 5.
It's just a real estate transaction, whether it's a purchase or a sale, whether it's a consideration or not.
So what,
Well,
resale,
it
say the
depends.
sale of any real
Have
estate?
John do the language.
Oh, wait a minute, the factor that's missing in a land swap is there's no money involved. A purchase uses money.
You can do a
sale
purchase
uses
for
money.
$0. You can
Huh?
do a sale for no consideration.
I didn't hear you, what?
You can do a sale for no consideration.
But that's not a, oh, okay. Well,
I mean, I know what
understand
you're
the point
getting
of
at.
not having it
It's
there.
it's any transaction to or from the town, and I get what they're getting at, I just think John can write it in a better way. I just missed it the first time
Well,
around.
that's not the only thing on that page
Oh,
though.
sorry.
No.
Should
No.
any budget
Item-
section,
Well, item 2.
right. Well,
Well, we can't have preference if we have a town manager, no.
mhm. Okay.
And also about the first selectman or a member of the, what was Board of Finance before. It's now Board of Selectmen.
And just B,
Well, that's fine, that would be, if the
Yeah.
Board of Finance was removed, then we would be
Correct.
responsible for having a hearing on the Board of Finance.
Yeah.
That's all that means.
and section 4.5 at the beginning of those, it's another Board of Finance reference.
Okay. Page 13, section 4.6, appropriations or other actions requiring referendum. Item 3. Any appropriation over 250,000.
Goes to referendum. Didn't we already talk about that?
Yeah.
Yes, we
We
do.
already did that. Anything with dark blue block, we already.
Excuse me, guys, you can't talk during this week. We need full concentration. Item B of section 5.2. I don't think that's enough. Second sentence says the board shall meet twice a month, and at least one meeting a month shall be held during evening hours.
I think you should keep that the way it
You have
is.
to keep it the way it is.
I think that was just intended if there was a town manager involved,
Yeah, but even so,
then I was just
they
explaining.
gotta talk. Section 5-4,
So we're changing that to,
back to what it
Back
is.
to what it is now.
And section 5.4, duties and responsibilities, items A, B, and C. Board of Selectmen shall direct and supervise the affairs. It doesn't mean any affairs, I guess, it's knocking out of the town. I don't know about that. And shall be responsible for coordinating the activities of officers, departments.
Just attorney.
well, I don't see what we're losing by taking out the words of the town. And I didn't pose this question, but that is a question. What are we losing by taking out the words of the town?
I think it needs to be there for clarity.
So
Because otherwise it says supervise the affairs and shall be responsible for coordinating activities. Well, here's what they did, they just added it, agencies of the town. Nah, that's fine. If you read the whole sentence, it makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, where's the, okay, otherwise, I think A is good. B is okay. C, okay. D. Okay, this is saying that we are not allowed to speak with,
Directly.
directly
Go through the town
to
manager.
town officers and employees who are subject to the direction and supervision of the town manager. That any conversation we might want to have would be through the town manager. Is that something maybe you took from North Branford just?
That is in every charter that has it.
Well,
Okay.
it's also that, and I think everyone who's for the town manager sat here and said that they want the town manager to have HR responsibility and get rid of
Okay.
that from, so I think that was probably a direct.
Yeah, that's in every,
It's just consistent.
Okay, so,
that's so nobody can go around and talk and undermine the town manager.
sounds good to me.
Typo.
It should be like that for every department now.
Yeah.
So, page 17.
It should all go to the department.
Okay, this is the big one.
Right.
All right. The Board of Selectmen shall have the following powers and duties. The board,
All
anybody
of
have a problem with,
all of
Any
these
coming out?
items have been,
well,
all these, let me finish, all these items have been taken away from the board. of Selectmen.
right. So let's take them one by one, and if there's something that we feel should remain, yeah. So looking at A, Board of Selectmen, blah, 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 shall present a proposed budget for the town with its recommendation to the Board of Finance consistent with the provisions of the charter.
You're gonna take that out because you're not gonna work
Yeah,
finance.
I'm taking that out.
And you guys don't want the board of selectmen to propose a budget, you want the town manager to.
Shall assemble, compile, and publish the annual town report.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Uh,
See,
Well,
well, that would be the town manager's,
Responsibility.
yeah.
okay, but it isn't anywhere here. And it has to be because it's a requirement each and every
Well,
year.
then that's something that Bennett should be consulted.
If we're taking away, it's gotta go
Somewhere,
to the manager,
Yeah.
obviously.
but it's not.
I'm just
So
saying
B,
that-
It has to
section
show up somewhere.
5-7B, we should refer to Bennett as to where that responsibility should
Well, I think
occur.
anything that comes away from the board of selectmen has to go
To
to.
the town manager.
I can go look,
Right.
I thought that was in there, I thought it was just in the block code for town manager, I can go look and see if that was a miss on that part, because I know it's in there, but I might have just been a miss on it.
Well, okay, so that, I mean, the thinking is that should move to the town manager.
Yes, it was in that, it should be, they're preparing the budgets, they're doing the town report by August, or by, could have sworn it was in the town manager part where he's
Yeah.
doing the report and by the next appropriate physical, whatever. So I can check that verbiage.
All right. C, shall have the power to lease real property for no more than a 3-year period.
I didn't see that anywhere.
No, it's taken away.
Correct.
Contracts taken away.
So that should go under the town manager?
Sure.
Anything crossed out would be a town manager responsibility.
All of these things.
Mhm.
And that, it would not belong to the board of
Or we
selectmen
can
for.
keep it.
Or we can keep it. So that would be, C would be to the town manager.
See, Carrie, here's my argument. I'm just gonna make a quick argument. If you want a town manager and you don't want anyone to have, the influence and you don't want people to make decisions that are gonna make people happy, then all of these things that they've crossed out to give to town manager should be crossed out. We should be making policy, we shouldn't be entering into contracts, we shouldn't be entering into, hiring, firing, this, that, the other thing. The board of selectmen should be, and I know you disagree with me, but if you want a town manager, then the town manager should be responsible for those things.
All right.
So you have to understand that you're not gonna be sitting here reviewing contracts.
The ones that I was gonna question as to whether they should stay with the Board of Selectmen are E, shall approve or reject any collective bargaining agreement for town.
You lose it,
Just for
You
having,
lose it.
okay, that's
You
fine.
don't have to.
Okay. Yep, no, that's
No, you
fine.
don't
But that
have to.
goes to the
I'm
charter, right?
You
saying,
guys can customize your chart the way you want.
but if you want a town manager, then have a town manager. You can't, in my opinion, this is what I'm saying about the town uniform of government and all that. If you're gonna change it, then give the power to the person sitting in the chair. That's all I'm saying, because all of the
Well,
other,
and what I'm saying is that there are certain powers that I think the Board of Selectmen could reserve, and maybe, I don't know, I mean, if nobody agrees with me, that's fine, but.
you're arguing against
I
yourself.
understand what you're saying, the concept, you're talking about the concept of the town manager, that they are the HR person, they hire, they fire, they do, I understand that. I'm just saying, the board, okay, all right, so we've each
But even if
voiced our opinion.
But like say negotiating contracts, That would be a perfect example of where someone might sway because of whatever the
Yeah.
contract might be. It could be
You're right.
whatever it could be. Somebody, a friend of yours that you might have, might be in one of these.
Well, no friends, John.
I know, you're a bad example, but the rest of
But the argument could be,
Well, I'm planning on getting something.
but the argument could be, a board of 5 persons is gonna be more fair and objective than just one person, the town manager.
I either go one way or the other.
But it also says in it, the hiring and firing and all that is at, the hiring and firing, there's a section that says the hiring
You're
and
right,
firing
you're right,
is
okay,
also
okay.
with recommendation of the Board of Selectmen.
All right.
As long as you guys can make recommendations, then.
They do, by a search committee, all the hiring is done by a search committee of the Board of Selectmen. So there's still oversight by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay, so A and, which is now F and G, those stay under additional powers. So then there's H, which is crossed out. May, when requested by any officer, board, commission, or agency, and after approval by the Board of Finance, make special or supplemental appropriation amounts subject to the provisions of section 10.4 of this charter. You don't think the Board of Selectmen should have any input as to that type of decision? You think a town manager would have a blanket yes or no on something like that?
I actually think it says down below that, if I remember correctly, I didn't print off a copy for myself. I think it says down below with some reflection, notification or something of the Board of Selectmen, if I remember correctly. But again, you can add verbiage like that if it's missing.
Here it says, all requests for special appropriations under section 10.4 shall be made in writing to the town manager, which may forward such requests together with their comments or recommendations to the director of finance.
So we did
Okay.
that there.
So this would be, an appropriation would be a move strictly between.
But
Town
you could put something in there, including the Board of
Well,
Selectmen.
Or just leave it.
that's what I'm
Right.
saying, I'd like to leave it as a select.
I mean, John could make a blanket statement somewhere in here saying that any decisions that are made are with, input from the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, I know we did
But
that.
ultimately, the town manager has to say.
Right, and I know we did that with all the hiring and firings, or any removal from office.
So maybe that's a question for John. maybe,
Right.
That,
But, okay, can you phrase that question?
no, it's for a lawyer to face.
Mhm.
Even though I'm a lawyer, I'm not gonna have this on my own.
So H, where do we stand on H then?
Ask Ben if there's some kind of,
Are you making all these notes, Mary? Yes, thank you, okay. All right. Of course you are. All right, so I shall accept as public street, that's no, anybody care about that one? And is that okay that that's crossed out?
I don't know, is it? I mean, I
It is
think,
what it is.
I think the bottom line is you either have, I think, either the town manager makes all the decisions, or you say the town manager's decisions are subject to a vote or at least input from the Board of Selectmen.
Correct.
It can't, I don't think you're going through every single line, I don't think we're all gonna agree. I think accepting a public street is a big deal. It comes with money from DPW, it comes with, are you gonna disrupt traffic? Is that important for us to weigh in on? That's more policy probably than anything else. I think if you're gonna take away a
Well,
power,
Then let's leave it in. As a selectman's duties,
I'm
that's
just using it
fine.
as an
she was
example.
saying, let's do it.
I think that every single line, one of us is gonna think might be important more than another line. So I think that any final decision ultimately your town manager's gonna have a decision. So they should all say with input from, and if you look at the town manager powers, it probably says that. Powers and duties probably says with the direction from the Board of Selectmen somewhere.
I just spent 70 hours at the TPC, I can't remember.
I'm guessing that it's probably there.
If not easily added.
Right, and I think that's where it needs to be added, that
And I thought I,
there's a recommendation by a search committee appointed by the Board of Selectmen for certain hirings and firings. Because ultimately now your town manager's gonna be hiring chief of police, gonna be hiring all your
right, all
directors.
your directors and stuff. And by search committees, so. There were some that weren't hired by the,
I guess what I'm saying is that every single one of these things, A through M or whatever it is, we're all gonna, some of us are gonna think are more important than the others. So I think what needs to be under the town manager section is that
yeah,
there
we
should
could-
be input from.
that could
the
move
Board of
down and say additional duties of town manager, that whole block.
Right,
Move
so
down.
Mary, if that could just be added to John, if we take away the powers of Board of Selectmen, how can we have input into the decision of the town manager? Even though we are gonna understand it, we're not gonna have
I'm sorry.
the final say. He's the one that's gonna sign contracts and,
So that's a
or
case,
she.
that's a
Sorry.
case where we'll have recommendations that we make to the town
It's
manager.
like a person.
And we do have the ability to do that. We may call, it basically says anything we think is important.
Again, we'll have recommendations to be made to the town manager. That's the way we're going to go.
And I think the same thing here under, where are we now?
Page 19.
So same thing under the first selectman.
Correct.
I think the first selectman now just becomes the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and obviously all of those things go away, so I don't think we necessarily have to go through all of this because the town manager's gonna sign everything.
And those are the things we wanted you to do.
And that,
Move
this
those
is
over to
where,
the town.
yeah. So I think that's probably fine. You added alternates to
Fire.
works. And all you did was add back in the town manager language. I see there's some purple here, that's just your name.
I don't know what it was.
Okay,
It was just,
yeah.
I'm good to item till we get to section 8.4 on 25. So, take your time.
That's the biggie.
My
See, this might cover it.
Yeah.
I would add one thing at the end to 8.4 powers and duties of the town manager, that it is all should be subject to collective bargaining. You can't just, you know,
I mean,
Oh, yeah, no, the town manager can't hire a fire anyone that's in the union.
well, don't we need to say that? All this is
No,
subject
because
to
it
collective
specifically
bargaining?
states prior in the previous sections who the town manager can hire and fire. I mean, you can ask John, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's in there now for the first selectman hiring.
No, it's not in there, but I think it should be in there. Collective bargaining. It's not as easy to just hire and fire people. If they're in a union, it's subject to collective bargaining. So, you know, make a note of that. Okay. And then,
missing something here. When it says the town manager, shall keep the Board of Selectmen fully advised, this is about
Right.
2/3 of the way down,
Yeah, got it.
as to the financial condition of the town, shall prepare and submit to the Board of Selectmen an annual budget. It would be, I don't know, I kind of feel better if there was some, I mean, all we're gonna do is hear, the way this is written, all we're gonna do is hear what the town manager has put forward as budget. We won't have any,
Power.
well, any input at all. And I would like to add something that says that she will, hear what we have to say before,
We're required to have a hearing. I disagree. If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it. I mean, if you're
I
gonna
don't
give
think
the town.
we have to submit 100% of the control of the budget over without providing, I mean, I understand that this person will be meeting with every department, will be in consideration of the finances of the town, will be prioritizing and have the big picture in mind, much more so than the selectmen, I'm sure. But I don't think just putting us in a position of listening to what the conclusions of the budget are is, I mean, we represent taxpayers. We should have some sort of a voice in the budget process, but I don't know how to phrase that.
I think it should be similar to other boards and commissions where there
Where
should
they
be Board of
can't
Ed
talk.
guy
Yeah.
president. Well, the Board of Ed guy can't.
Can't talk. This is our deliberation right now.
The problem is, Charlie, kind of want best of both worlds.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna.
I
do it, you gotta
know,
do it.
you're right.
Again, we're fighting with ourselves because, as I
Well,
said initially, I felt that we needed to have, as a board, the powers to be able to be part of the process, to set policy.
I
Be
still do.
involved in
I just
contracts
don't
and all
want
kinds of
conversation.
manners. But I know what Lynn is saying too, if you're gonna make the switch to town manager.
That's been my
You gotta
argument all
go
along.
with
If you're gonna do it, you gotta do it.
Well, this is where we're at right now. Whether that I mean, I don't think we have to make a blanket statement that eliminates input from,
I think
to
your town
sound
manager's gonna
blaming
listen.
taxpayers. I mean, people come to you, okay, all right, I've made my point.
But then you just said that the taxpayers should make the decisions. So
No, I'm not saying the taxpayers should make the decision, I'm saying they should have
The
input.
representation.
But then- yeah, but then you can be
Yes.
influenced and you want somebody who's not influenced. So you just,
Lynn, you're,
I'm not.
I see what you're beating the point to death here. I understand what you're saying. We're talking now about how to modify what's presented to us to make it mutually, to make it agreeable and mutually pleasing to everyone concerned. This is my opinion. My opinion is that I would like some sort of reciprocal, not reciprocal, part in the determination of budget. If it's just him, the manager listening and working from what our opinions and our input is, fine. But just to be handed something that says that he's gonna tell us what it is, boom, I don't know, that doesn't feel good. Nobody else?
No, this feels good.
Well, I mean, what's the point of Board of Selectmen if we can't represent what we're here to represent, which is people? So in my humble opinion, I'd like to just
Let's put it in there.
broaden that just
I
a
think,
little bit.
Mary, didn't I say that any of the powers that were taken away should be subject to input from the Board of Selectmen to the town planner? I mean, to the town manager? Yeah.
Yeah, so where,
I don't know, John's got to throw that in somewhere. Probably under the duties and responsibilities of the town manager. But you just have to understand that ultimately they can listen, and I'm sure that
right,
they
exactly.
will. I'm sure they will.
Ultimately, they
Just
can
like the Board
listen
of Finance
and
listens
ignore
to us.
everything we say, exactly. Ultimately, that is what they can do.
Mhm.
And then our ultimate power is, do we renew that contract, or do we, what happens then? If this is someone who would blindly moving in a direction of their own without listening to anything, any advisement from the Board of Selectmen, we would have to, deal with that.
But now you're fighting with yourself.
You know what, Carol, it is here. The town manager and the director of finance shall hold hearings with each department, office, board,
Right.
commissioner, agency on the proposed budget. So that means that the town manager must have a meeting with us in public before completing the proposed budget.
What page are you on?
35.
Okay, so I guess, okay,
I think what Carol would like to see on all of this stuff is something in writing somewhere that says the Board of Selectmen can make a recommendation to the town manager
Section 10(2)B.
prior to the town manager's approval.
right, I see what you're saying, and that does say it. That does say what I've been saying. Revise the authorization desirable shall complete proposed budget for the ensuing fiscal year and its report. All such actions shall take place in a public meeting. So.
But 10(2)B says that itemized estimates expenditures should be made to each department, office, commission, blah, 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 together with comments and recommendations to the Board of Selectmen with respect to such estimates. Before making a final decision.
Okay.
And we're
All
required
right,
to have.
okay, so
It's
that's
there.
it, then it's there, it's there. Okay, it's just the horse is way behind the cart as far as the language of this goes. All right, so yeah, the way it's in here works for me. That is,
I'm glad you're happy.
Right, let's stay on our calendar. Yeah.
So, anybody have any other,
Yeah, where's the town?
What are we gonna do about the town planner?
That's,
You guys wanna make that final decision when we have a whole board? Are we gonna do this just a shell thing there?
I have a vote for the word may, page 31.
I'll go from May.
I vote for may.
you vote for
I
me?
might have to put my money where my mouth is on this one.
Section 8-23, page 31.
Having one.
What page?
31.
Was off by one.
We need to be bound instead of stapled.
So, do we want to make a motion on the town planner at least tonight?
Manager. Oh,
I mean,
planner?
if we're gonna have a
Planner.
meeting anyway after John does this, I would rather Willie's here,
Right.
if you guys don't mind.
Okay, so basically Wednesday, we have to do it all.
Yes.
Or,
Well,
on Wednesday, are we talking about
This coming Wednesday morning.
the July 5th? Are we gonna talk about Rocky Ledge also?
Yes,
Big day.
that's Tuesday. in the morning.
Why don't we change that to an evening
Why
meeting?
do we want to shall on
Yeah.
Mayor says no.
that?
Yeah.
I mean, I could always put the rocket ledge to the pond, I think.
I think that's the problem.
That's true.
I think we're gonna interfere with.
Guys, we could,
Last time.
we could put Rocky Ledge to the week after that.
I'm gonna prepare some information for Rocky Ledge.
But I mean, we could put that off to the fall.
Yeah,
Sure.
so that they'll
We still have enough
understand.
time on that.
Yeah.
But we do need to make a decision very soon,
Mhm.
so the following week. So I guess we pretty much beat that to death today. So we need to hear from Bennett. And regroup next Wednesday.
Do we have to make a motion to send this to Jim Bennett for his input on our, no?
No,
No.
Alright.
No?
no, just make sure that the minutes go along with it, I'm sure.
Just make sure, what?
The minutes
the
go
minutes.
along.
Right.
What are you trying to say?
I'm gonna have to sit next to him. I can't understand.
I'm sorry, I'm mumbling.
She's frustrated over it.
It's okay, I heard
You're good.
Okay. Lynn,
What? No, I'm all set. Thanks.
on the next subject,